Hello, Lazio all over the world. Welcome to another episode of Lazio Lounge. If you listen to our podcast on Friday, you know that I was really skeptical about this derby. But when I found out that Alistair wasn't going to this match, I said, hey guys, we have a chance. And Alistair, this is what happened, right? You didn't show up to the derby and Lazio won. We can sum it up like that, right?
Yeah, you're very welcome. Ball's birth was entirely dependent on me not being around, apparently. So there you go. Yeah, that's true. Actually, Spezia game, I also wasn't there. So yeah, amazingly, there's a link. And then the only game I've been at so far this season was the Cagliari game. So
and what happened?
Yeah, who would have thought? Oh no, incredible. Honestly, I mean, I think we did not expect that. Safe to say, it wasn't just the victory, because we talked about how Roma aren't unbeatable, but I think just the performance, and it was totally different to anything we've really seen so far. Incredible performance.
Yes, definitely. And we have to say that, yes, Lazio won, but I thought overall Lazio played much better than Roma. One thing, we were expecting mistakes, especially on the defense, because this was happened all season long at the moment. And I wouldn't say that Lazio defense was perfect, but Roma didn't create that many chances. If we take off the corner kicks and Zaniolo in the second half, Roma didn't do nothing. They were all talking about Abraham, how good he is, how good striker comparison, Abraham Immobile. I mean, now you feel a little bit silly saying comparing the two players, right?
Yeah, Abraham was kept very quiet, very quiet, and Ciro. I mean, for a guy, I think it goes to show how well he played. Really, that so many people have been talking about him, despite the fact that he didn't score. And that says an awful lot about striker usually, because that is, whether you like it or not, the thing that people talk about the most about strikers. But Ciro led the line superbly yesterday. Like you say, Roma's Roma, Mourinho was saying afterwards about how they dominated the game, and it was the referee, which I mean, is the most ridiculous thing ever, that you can get a penalty like that, and then you can still complain about the refereeing after the game. But like you say, I mean, they did have a lot of possession and so on, but that doesn't translate to dominance. Even though Pepe Reina, again,
unbelievable,
2 good saves.
Yeah. Well, I would say the last one against Zaniolo was a great save. The other one was expected, I would say, from a Serie A goalkeeper. But again, he had a very good match, and he was close to save the penalty as well. So I would say, again, a good performance from Reina. But, Alistair, I thought Roma was coming in to this match with very high confidence, winning pretty much all the matches except the one against Verona, everybody praising Roma football, etc. And then they play against Lazio, and you have to say that the quality of Lazio came out. Mourinho and a lot of Roma fans said Lazio played well the first 20 minutes. I watched again the match, and I would say that the first 40 minutes was total domination. Lazio scored twice. Ciro Immobile had another great chance, who put it wide. Felipe Anderson had a counter-attack who didn't pass the ball to Luis Alberto. That could be another chance, and so on. I mean, Lazio played better. I don't know if this is Sarri ball or maybe this is the new Sarri ball, but definitely we saw huge improvement from Lazio, and the quality of this team is a thing that had a big impact, I think, in this match.
Yeah, and it's kind of intentional. It's not necessarily what you expect from Sarri, is it? But then again, the counter attacking is something that actually Lazio can translate from Inzaghi ball to Sarri ball quite effectively, because it's something that they were brilliant at doing under Inzaghi as well. And like you say, they have the quality to do it. I mean, the third goal was absolutely exceptional. The weight on the pass from Alberto, and Chiro's kind of intelligence and selflessness to actually hold the ball up and lay it off when he could have very easily gone for goal himself. And Anderson to make that supporting run, half the length of the pitch to get there. And it just made me, I don't want to talk about him too much, but it just made me laugh so much that Mourinho's kind of saying that Roma, they gave hardly anything away. It was just two of the goals were counterattacks. Like brushing that off like it doesn't count. And it's like, you're just not doing your job, mate, because counter-attacking is a very obvious threat that you're going to face against Lazio. How can you just brush that off as not being something to take seriously? It is absolutely incredible. But yeah, I mean, Lazio led this game from the 10th minute until the final whistle. There is no argument. There is no argument about which team deserved to win this derby. It was a brilliant derby. One of the best I think we've had for ages. And it's great that there's all these talking points and all this kind of emotion coming off the back of it, because that's what you want. But it's even better when Lazio are the team to be out on top of it.
Well, definitely. Sarri in the press conference before the match talked a lot about Felipe Anderson. He said he's one of the most talented player ever managed. Sometimes I don't think he realized how good a player he is. And suddenly, the best derby of Felipe Anderson. The first assist to Milinkovic Savic is simply unbelievable. And then he played well 90 minutes and he scored even the second goal. I mean, the third goal, sorry. I mean, probably the best performance from Felipe Anderson in the last 3 years, I would say, considering that he hardly played in the past 2 years. Again, he can be a game changer.
And coming just after Sarri in the press conference before the game was asked about him, and I mean, he was incredibly complimentary in terms of saying, about the various players he's coached in his career at top teams and so on, and saying, Anderson's right up there in terms of the talent he's got. And do you think do you think there's a relationship? I've seen people talking about this and discussing this, like, is there a relationship between Sarri's press conference before the game and Anderson's performance? Do you think
I think it is because one thing we have to say about Felipe Anderson is that he has to feel the love of the manager, right? And hearing your manager saying, I train a lot of champions, but as good as Felipe Anderson, there are not that many. I think that gave a boost to the player. And he finally showed up in a big match, because one of the concerns I have with Felipe Anderson is that he hardly show up in big matches. This was, I think, the second goal in the derby for him. He never won a derby starting the match, so this was the first time. So it's good to finally see him playing like that. And again, I thought it was very funny because Marco Parolo said, I say that Felipe Anderson is the Christmas tree, because when he's turned up, he's amazing, but sometimes he switch off and you don't understand, turn on, turn off, turn on. That's Felipe Anderson, the Christmas tree. And when he's on,
because he only turns up once a year.
I hope not. But that's Felipe Anderson. And finally, we saw him 90 minutes, not only attacking but even defending. And again, I think this was a huge part, because we said it at the beginning. Only Zaniolo played for Roma. Only Zaniolo had chance. Mkhitaryan went missing. I don't know, for the next new signing of Roma, probably they're going to do the video with Mkhitaryan missing on the milk box, right? I mean, these players, Roma had Abraham, so good, Mkhitaryan, Cristante, etc. They didn't show up for the derby. And I think big credit has to be given to Lazio defense as well.
Yeah, I think so, exactly. I mean, it's frustrating to concede the goal from the corner, especially that part of the game. It just seems like a weak goal to concede when it's literally just kind of ball to the front post, header in. It's a good header, but it's at least something that can be worked on. It's not a fundamental kind of structural defensive issue. It's just something that needs to be coached a bit. And otherwise, I mean, you have to say the defense did do well. They suffocated how many opportunities Roma could actually create. They stayed well organized throughout the match. And obviously Roma's second goal was, a bit of a disgrace, really. And
incredible.
Thankfully, that didn't make a difference to the end result, because it didn't deserve to.
Alistair, the other thing is I didn't like was Mourinho, instead of talking about the match, focusing only on the ref. I mean, one thing I like about Sarri, and I didn't like that much of Inzaghi, is that every time at the end of the match, he would start complaining about the ref, the mistakes, etc. Yes, we get it. But we have to say that Roma, apart from Zaniolo, didn't have any chances, didn't create any dangers. El Shaarawy was invisible. And when Zaniolo came out due to the injury, Roma pretty much disappeared. The match was over. So, I think in a certain way, Mourinho fits perfectly with Rome. But the fact that he talked only about complaining to the ref, especially in a match like that where the penalty of Rome was simply embarrassing. I mean, I still didn't understand what the ref gave. What did he see?
I saw a super slow-mo version of it today, and with a kind of circle zooming in on the point of contact. And there was the moment where Zaniolo's pulling his leg back to take the shot, and his toe clips Agpakpro's knee. And then he swings and misses the ball, and then he stops, and then he throws himself onto the ground. But even so, it's not. They're running side by side. I mean, it's not a He's not made a challenge. He's kicked Agpakpro in the back of his leg.
Yes.
And for that to get through and be confirmed as a penalty in the age of VAR just blows my mind. I know there are procedures in place about what's checked, what isn't checked, when, blah blah blah. But I mean, come on, it's something else. I know there's a lot of complaints from Roma fans about a potential penalty for them in the building up to Lazio's second goal. Nowhere near the same kind of decision. Nowhere near the same kind of decision. That is such a grey area, the challenge, the Husai challenge. It's just kind of two bodies coming together. So
I have to say that it would have been a scandal if they gave the penalty, but you cannot say that the ref ruined the derby for that penalty. Because again, in the second half, they gave you a penalty that is simply embarrassing. And to add to this, I rewatched the match yesterday, and Zaniolo in the first half makes 2 tackles that are both yellow card, and he didn't receive none, and he should have been sent off. So, I can understand that Mourinho wants to take off the focus on the terrible performance of Roma and why Roma had only one player being able to put some danger, to create some chances. But I mean, the press should be saying, hey, what the hell are you talking? Let's talk about the match and why you deserve to lose. So,
well, let's talk about the match then, and not Mourinho's moaning, because he's just trying to do what you expect him to do. But I mean, Pedro, for a start, I mean, it was just poetry. I mean, that's probably one of the most. I've said before when Ibrahimovic came back from his injury that you can never rule out the power of a good story in football, and it's the same here. It was almost inevitable that this was going to happen with Pedro becoming only the 3rd player to score for both teams in the derby. And what a goal as well. I mean, it's the reverse angle of it. It's just incredible accuracy on the finish.
And he starts celebrating before the ball goes in. He already understood that Rui Patricio would never reach that. But I have to tell you this. Obviously, the goal is very important. But was it more nice to see the goal or what he did in the second half to Zaniolo?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's top class. And the calm. He was so control on that situation that, it was fun to see and see again and rewatch it, etc.
Yeah, I mean he's just been an unbelievable signing, and you really in games like this you see you see that things like experience and kind of intelligence are talked about a lot, but it's often hard to have a game like this where you really see that in action quite so obviously as we did with Pedro yesterday. Just everything about his performance I thought was just so intelligent, and he just really kept the calm head, and that goes to show that moment you're talking about where he takes the ball off Zaniolo and then he beats him twice. I mean, it's a great example of a guy he's not getting caught up in all the noise, all the emotion of this occasion. He's just doing his job basically. And he was obviously caught up in the emotion of it by the time the game finished. But I think that he's just a brilliant example to the rest of the team. And there's that picture of him with Raul Moro under the curva after the game. And I just thought, what a brilliant role model for Moro to have.
Definitely.
And another Spaniard as well. So I just, yeah, very happy. Like I said on Twitter last night, everything is forgiven, Mr. Rodriguez.
Definitely. And he scores in big occasion, right? Finals, derby. He has that skill of being calm in the key moments of key matches that, only true champions have. And again, last year I was hoping that Lazio was signing him because there were rumors of that. And so I'm pleased that he switched and went to the right team over Rome. And, he's playing a lot and he's proving very valuable for this team.
Well, Milinkovic-Savic as well. I mean, talking about guys who step up on big occasions. I mean, we've talked about this endless times by now, but it's just amazing this ability he has to score important goals, and he also did exactly what we've been talking about since the Cagliari game now, of needing someone to really push up from the midfield to support Ciro more, and there he was, 10 minutes in, getting right up into the box. And yeah, you mentioned brilliant ball from Anderson, but also great header, brave header. I mean, I thought he was knocked out at first. He wasn't actually, but takes an arm in the face for his efforts.
Yeah, I forgot to mention on Saturday I called Sari and talked about Milinkovic. So yeah, that's all credit to me. That was the first time Lazio scored, and I was concerned that our player died. I mean, he wasn't moving. Again, talking about the ref, that could have been a red card because that was a very dangerous move from Rui Patricio, who someone may think that he was trying to cover the ball, the goal, but he's moving the hands forward very late after the Milinkovic-Savic already had hit the ball. I don't know. I mean, that could have been a red card, but I mean, I couldn't celebrate because I was concerned that we could have lost Milinkovic-Savic for I don't know how long.
Well, I saw pretty soon afterwards that it wasn't he hadn't been knocked out, because you notice when players are knocked out in those kind of collisions that their body just kind of completely collapses, where as you could see him kind of grimacing in his face, and it was kind of controlled in the way that he went down. So he's just taking one for the team. I think the thing you'd be most gutted about in that situation is that you've missed your opportunity to celebrate scoring in the derby. By the time he gets up again, it's there having to kick off. So I'm sure you'll have other opportunities.
Yeah, anyway, I thought Milinkovic had a great match. I was really impressed from his performance. I thought the big difference between Pedro and Milinkovic-Savic, I thought that Milinkovic made a couple of mistakes when he was close to our penalty box. He provided a corner kick for Roma, and we know how Roma was dangerous on corner kick in the derby. But overall, I thought he had, don't know if the best match of the season, but definitely an improvement. And playing closer to Ciro Immobile, I think that's the perfect solution. Sarri said, he talked to the team and said, guys, feel a little bit free try to do what you like to do. Obviously, keep in mind what I'm asking from you. But he said that maybe they played a little bit freer without thinking too much, and that was the reason why Milinkovic Savic played a little bit closer to Ciro Immobile and why he performed like that.
Yeah, I mean it's a blueprint for the future as well. A bit, I think it's something that people have brought up. I think after seeing a game like this where Lazio have kind of played very well and in their own kind of style, which we haven't quite seen yet, because it's felt this whole time like Lazio trying to work out the style and trying to come to terms with things, whereas that felt a bit different, as in it wasn't quite the style you associate. Because I've seen, I can't remember who it was now, making the point that we need to stop thinking about this as waiting for Lazio to play Sarri's Napoli football and actually start thinking about Sarri playing Sarri's Lazio football. It's allowed to be different. He can have the same kind of principles of the game that he's had before, but it doesn't have to be all about having a Jorginho in the middle of your midfield or having your kind of inverted wingers and so on. It can be different. There can be less possession involved if this team's more used to counterattacking, for example. And I thought that was an interesting point. It's and I think we saw a bit more of that yesterday. I guess the question then though is, if it does that work against your Cagliaris and your Torinos? I mean, does that same style kind of work against lesser opposition if they're camped out against you or not?
Well, the problem is, I think the answer is if we don't make the same defensive mistake we did against Cagliari, because Cagliari scored thanks to 2 mistakes of Lazio defender. If you take off those 2 goals, then Lazio will win. And I totally agree with you. We have to forget Napoli Sarri ball. This is a different team with different players. We have Leva, we don't have Jorginho. But for example, we have Felipe Anderson that could be better than Caillon for different reason, and Immobile and so on. So it's a different type of football. I think we cannot replicate what we saw with Napoli, and this can be a successful type of football. Still, Lazio will try to come out from the defense with a ball on their feet, moving it. Obviously, with Jorginho would be different compared to Leva, but we also have Luis Felipe that is quite good in that, right? We saw it, Luis Felipe, a couple of times this season coming out with the ball and giving a hand there. So it's a different type of football. And this brings me to the question, Alistair, because one of our biggest question mark, our biggest concern was Lucas Leiva playing, right? We were talking about Cataldi. How do you rate Leiva's performance in the derby?
I thought it was okay. I mean, he picked up a yellow card very early on, and that is always a massive concern. And and ends up being with Inzaghi, that was always right. If Lucas is yellow carded, he's coming off at half time basically, or very early in the second half. Sarri left him out there for a while. That's another thing that Mourinho was whinging about, saying that he should have been given a second yellow for jumping. And this is days after Mourinho was saying that Lorenzo Pellegrini should have never been sent off for an almost identical thing. So I can understand that he's annoyed about Pellegrini getting a red card and Lucas not, but he's just been saying 2 days ago that that's not a yellow card offence. Yep. Now he's saying it is. Yeah. But anyway, I think that he's probably a bit better, I'd say, than we've seen him before, but not kind of a standout performer, maybe isn't in the same way that the more attacking players were.
I think Mourinho comes out of this derby terribly, right? Complaining about the ref, being dominated by the team that has been struggling in the past couple of matches. And you can point out that probably the first big team Roma plays has been, I would say, dominated. I know a lot of people won't agree, but I thought on the football point of view, I think Lazio played much better. One concern is probably physically. Roma was a better team. They have bigger players like Zaniolo, etc. Lazio struggled a little bit there, but quality, I thought Lazio played much better. I was expecting a little bit more from Luis Alberto. He wasn't happy, big surprise, when he was subbed. But I thought that was the right decision because Roma was trying everything. I think at a certain point, Roma finished with like 5 strikers, a couple of wingers, three center forward, etc. And Luis Alberto wasn't helping that much. So that's why Akpa Pro came in. And I thought, well, the penalty is embarrassing, but I thought Akpa Pro played well. Maybe in all of this, I was expecting a little bit more from Luis Alberto. I'm asking too much, or do you agree with me, Alistair, on this?
Well, I think we saw, like I already said, the third goal. That we saw the best of him there with the weight on the pass to send Chiro through, and it's one of these goals where, you know, he kind of deserves. Well, him and Chiro kind of both deserve to get an assist for that goal because one pass was as important as the other. And there was a moment in the first half as well when, again, he just got that kind of run from Immobile and managed to find the tiny gap to get it through and kind of send him clear. So I think I was encouraged yesterday by just seeing a bit more of the kind of time and space and the run from Immobile in front of him to try and make that connection again, because we know how lethal that connection from Alberto, the creator, to Immobile, the finisher, can be. And we've not seen an awful lot of it so far this season. So I was encouraged by that. But yeah, it does still feel like he's not quite found his role in the team, found his perhaps his kind of positionally exactly where he's supposed to be when. And I guess the other issue is that Akpa Pro is very different kind of player. I mean, you can't expect to have more than one Luis Alberto in your squad, but we don't really have someone who's going to come off the bench and try and play in the same kind of way as him. So by taking him off, it Lazio kind of automatically kind of switch into a different sort of game plan, which perhaps, like you say, was necessary at that moment.
Well, you have Basic that I think Sarri believes he's still not ready for Italian football. One thing we saw this season that when Lazio midfielder are marked, are pressed, they struggle. And I was surprised that Roma never, ever tried to do that, right? We saw it against Cagliari, against Milan, for example. And, when you find that a team struggled in that thing, you try to replicate it. And Roma never did it. So I thought Lazio dominated, especially because of that. It's true that Roma midfield was a little bit concerning. I thought playing with three trequartisti, like you can call Esharawi, Mkhitaryan, and Zaniolo, was I don't know. I didn't understand that tactics, especially where Lazio midfield is so quality. So I was surprised by Mourinho's tactic, but also having Milinkovic moving forward, it was even difficult to mark, right? Because he was so close to Ciro Immobile that you didn't know, should the defender come out or the midfield do a step backwards to stop Sergei? Could be that the reason why they didn't press high?
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, I was surprised by that as well. I think they kind of showed more respect to Lazio than maybe I expected, just because of the form that Lazio were in and how quite clearly the team was still struggling to adapt properly, and how clearly the team was guilty of individual errors in almost every game, and a lot of them coming from pressure being put on individuals, on defenders, whatever it may be. So yeah, I mean, I think that's probably part of what made Mourinho so angry after the match, though. He did get it wrong. I think that if this was a tactical battle between the two coaches, which is what this derby was being, cast as before it started, I think Sarri comes out on top. Absolutely ruthless start to the match. Caught them out, 2 goals in 20 minutes to take the lead, and from that position you are very comfortable being able to just soak up pressure and try and get more, like they did on the third goal. And they were, like we've already said, very comfortable doing that. So I think it was a very, very, very well executed game plan by Sarri, which is, like we've said, probably the most surprising thing of this entire match, because we've not seen that aspect so much so far.
Do you think this victory will be the beginning of the season of Lazio? Will build confidence? Will change the season of Lazio, or it's just it's just another match we have to focus on the next one and carry on?
I don't know. I kind of asked that question last night, and
To who?
the only thing that makes me wonder that is just because I was kind of surprised how much Immobile and Sarri mentioned the Milan game, and the fact that one bad performance could have the negative effect that actually got the team down and made them lose a bit of faith in what they were doing, a bit of confidence in themselves. And so as a result, surely you can then flip that round and it goes the other way. If you can put in that big a performance in that big a game with that much pressure on them, then it should be enough. Frustratingly, there's only a couple of games and then the international break now, so it's going to be disrupted again. But I think there's a real opportunity here because Bologna's obviously is locomotive coming up on Thursday, but Bologna are probably the weakest team defensively in the league, certainly one of them. So if Lazio want to try and start with the same kind of ferocity that they did against Roma, then you imagine that's going to be a real problem for Bologna. So I really hope so. I don't know. How do you feel? Do you think it's a season-changing result?
Well, the thing is, Lazio was coming to Milan after two great performances, and I thought they were confident that they already understood the Sarri ball, and so failing so badly make them react badly and maybe make them doubt about themselves. Obviously, the derby is a derby. It's a different match. It's completely different from the others. And as Sarri said after the match, it's very easy to stay focused, to concentrate for that particular match. Against Bologna, it's completely different, right? You fight against a lower team who's struggling massively. You can come in and think it's you're going to win anyway. So that's where the big teams make the difference, right? They are able not only to win the big match where you're all focused, but even the small match where it's hard to be focused for 95 minutes.
Yeah, they need the ruthlessness now to kick in. It needs to be for it to have a successful season, to be up in the top four race by March, April, May. We need to be picking up points in these matches in the way that Milan are, Napoli are so easily. Last night, Napoli beating Cagliari, absolutely cruised to that win, and Lazio need to find the ability to do the same thing while having these midweek games, stay competitive in the Europa League while getting more comfortable wins in the league. That is the absolute key to a successful season, something Lazio have struggled with in the past. So
even because we won the derby, but the table is still not very good. We're still not on the top four position, so we have to catch up with the other teams. We have Europe League coming in. I don't know if Sarri will rotate. I think so. But you see, we didn't achieve a lot. So obviously the confidence, the performance is obviously positive. But, if you want to get in the Champions, you have to now stack a couple of matches, a couple of wins to be there. So there's plenty of things to do. There's plenty of matches Lazio have to win. So there's a long road, Alistair, and we'll be together till the end, hopefully. Right?
Yeah, it depends. If you don't upset me, then maybe.
Okay. Well, I think we're gonna be back Thursday or Friday after the Europa League match, Lazio Lokomotiv Moscow. Big match, very important because Lazio lost the first match, so we have to win this one.
Yes, and you'll be there, I believe, will you?
I will.
So if you're not, be there. So watch out.
Okay, so I'm betting on another loss. Alistair, thank you again for joining me. Remember, guys, you can follow us on Spreaker, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube. If you love our podcast, you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Lazio Lounge, and we'll be back at the end of the week. Thank you, Alistair. Thanks, everybody.
Cheers.